What is up, NPBF fans and coaches alike? My name is Jeff. I also go by PokePrimer, and we are back here on the NPBF channel for our Season 13 mid-season. What am I going to call this? I guess I'll call this like the mid-season. Mid-season checkpoint? Mid-season checkpoint? I thought it could be kind of interesting. So, the reason why there has been no content over here is just because real life stuff, not enough time available to really devote to the channel, and it's very unfortunate. We had a lot of coaching changes this season, a lot of staffing changes amongst the admin team, some new additions, some removals, etc., etc. So there's a lot of stressful stuff happening this season. So a lot of things kind of got pushed back, and unfortunately the YouTube channel was that. But now we're in a good spot. You know, everything's the ship is running smoothly, and it is time once again to come through and really go hard for this season. So we're gonna try to finish the season strong over here. For this week's, though, we're going to do things a little bit different than we usually do. Originally, I was going to go over the games from Week 6. However, due to multiple tech issues and whatnot that have pushed off the release of this video already, in order to get it out during the course of Week 7 so that I can keep things on a regular schedule, I'm going to forego that for this time. I am sorry to anyone who wanted me to commentate over their game. If somebody would like me to do that still, feel free to request it, and I will do it personally. I will personally take time to go over your game and give you my thoughts and commentary on it, absolutely. But for the channel itself, we're going to stick to a quick couple things here, and we'll to get us going. So for this video, I'm going to look over the current coaching staff and the rosters as they are after Week 6. Obviously, things will be changing, of course, as always. We'll be looking at the schedule for next week, see what those matches are looking like. We are going to be looking at the kill leaderboard so that we can see what mons are on everyone's radar right now. What mons are really standing out. Fun fact, none of them are on my team this season, which is pretty cool. Not really. And then we are going to take a look at the current standings, and boy, are they something. This season has been very, very different than what you're used to seeing here in the NPBF in a lot of different ways. So when we go to those standings, you're going to be very much surprised. This season is something else. But without further ado, let's go ahead and start taking a look at our coaching roster. Starting off first, we have to start with the Memphis Brave Birds, coached by our fearless former leader, but still kind of leader, James. He was going to retire after this season and pass the NPBF mantle off to myself, but he decided to hang around to make sure that I guess I was properly trained and you kind of ease me into the leadership role, and I appreciate that greatly. James is a great dude. Always loved James. He's a top-notch guy. Well, absolute top-notch guy. His team consists of Garchomp, Moltres Galarian, Vaporeon Galarian, Slowking, Comfey, Shiftry, Wigglytuff, Rillaboom, Magneton, Beware, and Rapidash. So a lot of type overlap, but not really nothing too terrible. And a lot of mons that can actually do slightly different things. Obviously, like Shiftry and Rillaboom, both grass types. Rillaboom more of an offensive tank. Shiftry more of like a somewhat offensive, but also good like hazard support removal guy as well. Comfey and Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff sets hazards, has competitive, all that kind of stuff. Comfey can remove hazards, and is all cleric all the time. And then, of course, you have the Rapid. The Rapidash is like a standout mon in the bottom tier, sitting there, be a solid fire type. Honestly, it's a really, really good mon. People definitely sleep on Rapidash. I had it once before in a league, and it honestly put in a lot of work. There was some weeks where it honestly just kind of came in and cleaned people up because they just didn't know what to do with it. So, really, really solid stuff. He's got a couple mons that are really, really standing out this season, which is no surprise because James is a top-notch player. So, always expecting him to do well. So this season is no surprise, and I'm just happy that we still got James around for the league. Next up, we have a new coach. He recently took over a team. He recently came up from the D-League to take over a team, and I believe Week 7 is his official debut on the main league roster, which is very, very cool. So his team is Ben. His name is Ben. His team is the Misery McGearnas, and he has a Volcanion, Alola Ninetales, Galvantula, Alolan Sandslash, Slurpuff, Claydol, Thievul, Hydreigon, Mamoswine, Braviary, and Exeggutor. So he's got a bit of a hail team with the Alola Ninetales and Alolan Sandslash. Could potentially add Mamoswine onto that list, but does have access to Snowcloak, I believe. Which is very cool. But he also has some great supportive mons with things like Volcanion, being such a powerful breaker. Hydreigon being such a powerful monster as it is. His cores are really, really strong. His cores are incredibly strong. Hydreigon, Slurpuff, and Alolan Sandslash for Fairy Dragon Steel. You could also swap Slurpuff out of there for Alola Ninetales. He's got access to he has dual webs, which is pretty cool. He's got access to solid removal with like Sandslash and Claydol, as well as Volcanion for Defog and Hydreigon for Defog and Braviary for Defog. So his removal is stacked. Only things on his team that I'm not particularly a fan of is Thievul and Exeggutor. The coach before him actually tried to use a physical Thievul set once, and I told him, no, don't do that. It has base 55 attack. I don't care how much damage it's doing. You can do much more damage with anything else ever. And turns out I was right. It happens a lot of times. But Thievul is a bad Pokemon. If you do not have a terrain or an easy way to get rid of its Poppets Unburden, it's not a good Pokemon. It is just a very bad Pokemon. It is trash. Thievul is terrible. And Exeggutor, it just doesn't seem to fit with his team very well. Doesn't really have a lot to support Exeggutor doing well, so interesting to see if he holds on to that. There's still a couple weeks left of free agency, so it's entirely possible that thing could disappear. But overall, really, really solid team, and I'm excited to see what Ben can do here in the main league. Next up, we have my team, which has gone through probably the most changes of any team ever in Draft League history. We have Zapdos, Slowbro, Drapion, Regidrago, Lurantis, Rabombi, Mudsdale, Aegislash, Surfetch'd, Magmortar, and Lopunny. So I will say, out of the original 11 Mons that I drafted, right? Out of the original 11 I drafted, there's only technically 1, 2, 3 that originally I picked in the draft itself. And those are Regidrago, Magmortar, and Mudsdale. Regidrago was actually dropped after the draft for a little while because it just didn't feel like it fit my team at the time, and then I decided I was going to pick it back up later on, and I'm glad that I did so because Regidrago is amazing. And Mudsdale and Magmortar have been there the whole time, but everything else on this team was something else at some point or another, which was mainly because I drafted a Trick Room team, and Trick Room just does not work for me. Does not work for my play style. So it went really poorly, and I lost a lot. I lost my first 3 matches in a row, and then I had to forfeit my week 4 match, just due to time constraints. And but I've been making transactions pretty much almost every week since, and I think this team is pretty close to its final iteration. I might make one more because I do have 20 extra free points, so I might upgrade. I'm on up a tier if I can, so gonna take a look at that option and see what I can do. Oh, excuse me. But for now, that is the situation we are in. But I like the team where it's sitting at right now. It's solid. It ticks a lot of the boxes of like teams I typically like to play with. So I think it'll be fun to use, and hopefully I'll start picking up some wins. Next up, we have Gavino and the Venice Beach Victinis. He has his Chansey, Neolego, Crocodile, Alolan Marowak, Dusclops, Seismitoad, Rhydon, Kyurem Black, Regieleki, Calyrex, and Greedent. Interesting team across the board. A lot of interesting mons on it. However, when I was doing the kill leaders, I realized he has only ever used 6 of them. So y'all can do your research and figure out what those 6 are if you choose to. It's definitely it's a very Gavino thing to do. So it's kind of funny. It's something I never really pay attention to or picked up on, but he's gone and done that. So yeah, that's something you guys can look into. And now maybe that I've said it, and maybe he'll start using some of the rest of the mons on his team because he has a really solid squad. So we'll see. We will see what happens. But if he was always a solid coach, he always plays well. He's always a fun time to be around. So definitely going to be very interesting to see what he does. Next up, we have the multi-time champion, Rennie, and his Los Angeles Darkrai. His team consists of Landorus Therian, Rotom Heat, Gastrodon, Torkoal, Boltund, Rhyperior, Throh, Spectrier, Weezing, Frostlass, and Metagross. So, very interesting team. It's actually I'm still not sure how I feel about this squad. It's got a lot of tools. It's got a lot of the right tools on it. Some really good removal, some good hazard control. Cores are kind of non-existent. No grass type for Fire, Water, Grass. You just kind of left the one out there. I don't even think he has... Yeah, he doesn't have a fairy or a dragon, which is interesting. So, very different kind of team, very interesting setup, but, as long as it works for him, that's all that matters, because Rennie has drafted some pretty strange-looking teams in the past, on paper, and they have always worked out in his favor. They have always worked out well for him, so I do not expect this to be any different. It's Rennie, and he can pretty much make the best out of just about anything, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with this for the rest of the season. Next up, we have the other James, also known lovingly as Imposter James, and his Myrtle Magikarps. His team consists of Melmetal, Pelipper, Porygon 2, Flygon, Charizard, Registeel, Tauros, Mew, Dreadnought, Sawk, and Trevenant. So, kind of a rain team. It has rain aspects. It has the Pelipper obviously set the rain, and the Dreadnought to abuse it. But he also has a couple mons that, even if certain aspects of them aren't great in rain, they get supported by the rain. Melmetal and Trevenant both get a little bit of a bulk boost with their ability to take less damage from fire-type attacks, which is really useful. And then you have things like Charizard as well, having access to Hurricane, so you can utilize that as well. Mew being able to learn any move is also very, very crucial for this team, because you can pretty much tailor-make Mew each and every week to whatever set you need to cover for the Rain Core's weaknesses, and you can deal with whatever you want to deal with Mew, which is great. Oh, excuse me. Mew is the Swiss Army knife of Pokemon. I know a lot of leagues have been considering banning Mew in recent years. I think it's... I personally, there's part of me that always thinks it's silly when that discussion is brought up, but then, you know, Mew goes ham for a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden people are like, oh, well, fuck. Guess I gotta pay attention to Mew again. But, I don't know. That's always up in the air when it comes to stuff like that. I think it's fine as it is for now, but yeah, that's something to look into in the future. But overall, I think James has a really solid squad. It's a really, really fun-looking team, and I'm a big fan of it. So keep doing what you're doing, James. You're doing great. Next up, we have another new coach to the main league this season. He was our D-League champion last season. We have Liam and the Auckland Ambipoms, and his team is pretty strong, not gonna lie. His team consists of Dragapult, Darmanitan, Gardevoir, Nidoqueen, Licky, Girder, Vanillix, Scizor, Milotic, Manectric, and Rotom Fan. Really, really incredibly strong team. Incredibly great offensive pressure with mons like Dragapult, Darmanitan, Gardevoir. Incredible bulk with things like Licky, Girder, Milotic, Rotom Fan, Nidoqueen. Like, all of these mons have very, very solid roles, but can also fill multiple roles for the team as well. Like, Girder can just be bulky, can be a setup sweeper, can remove hazards, stuff like that. Scizor can be bulky or a setup sweeper or remove hazards. Dragapult can be screens, physical, special, whatever the hell you want. Doesn't matter. Like, a lot of these mons have so many different slots that they can be put into each week, which makes them very, very fun to use, very, very fun to play with. And I'm sure that team is going to be absolutely monstrous, without a doubt in my mind. He has been doing incredibly well so far, so I look forward to seeing what Liam does going forward the rest of the season. Next up, a coach who has absolutely shined this season is Dave and the Atlanta Dragonites, or the Hyper Beam Dragonites, or whatever he calls his team this week, because he has about 17 team names that involve Dragonite on it. So, I joked, Dave. I'm just messing with you. But his team is incredibly strong this season, and he is actually like a top playoff contender so far this season. So that is something that is very different than the usual, which I think is fantastic. I'm so happy to see Dave prospering right now. It is truly a wonderful sight. But with a team like this, it's kind of hard not to. His team consists of Zygarde 50%, Duraludon, Araquanid, Hitmontop, Alcremie, Lantern, Haunter, Volcarona, Mandibuzz, Cinccino, and Type Null. So he's got like some crazy good bulk with things like Alcremie, Lantern, Type Null, Hitmontop. A lot of really great bulk. But he also has like incredible offensive pressure. Zygarde obviously being the 1,000 arrow spamming beast. Volcarona with its Quiver Dance sweeping potential pretty much any time. Haunter just being naturally strong, Araquanid just being naturally strong, Duraludon just hitting hard. He's got a perfect combination of bulk and power that really just kind of can rip any team apart pretty easily. It's really impressive as to how he's utilized it so far, and I'm really hopeful. I want to see Dave go all the way this season. I'm really rooting for it. Dave, please, I'm begging you, just go all the way, win the cup, and take it home for us all. I think that would be one of the coolest things to see in NPBF history. But let's move on to our next set of coaches. Next up, we have another fresh new coach to the main league, and his name is Jason, and he's coaching the Adelaide Chanseys. He recently took over a team, and it consists of Clefable, Goodra, Slowking, Obstagoon, Meltank, Ditto, Alolan Raichu, Corviknight, Mimikyu, Cryogonal, and Golurk. Now, this team is interesting. It It doesn't have a Firewater Grass core, but that's fine, I guess. It's just interesting. It's just a very interesting team because, like, I love all of the aspects of it, but at the same time, I don't know why. There's just something about this team that just, like, rings... That has a good ring to it to me. I don't know. Maybe it's like the Corviknight, Clefable, Goodra core that is just gross. Disgusting. Or maybe it's just like all the potential things that can be done with things like Slowking and Ditto that, make me feel good. I also love teams that include Golurk on them, because Golurk is awesome. It's one of my favorite mons to draft. I don't know what it is, but this team just it feels right to me, and I really like it, so... Happy to see another new coach have a solid team here. Very interested to see how Jason performs here in the main league. It's going to be very fun time for sure. Next up, we have the head of the D League, Mr. Nate himself. Really excited to see. To go over his team because he has gone hard rain mode at this point in the season. He has the Dracovish, Tangrowth, Politoed, Ludicolo, Aromatisse, Uxie, Pukumuku, Victini, Barraskewda, Shuckle, and Alolan Dugtrio. So interesting setup here. Another team that has webs plus a weather, which I think is a very solid combination. Especially in this case, it's webs plus Dracovish plus rain, which is gross. Webs up, Dracovish and rain. Have fun. Good luck. That's going to be fun for you. Not really. Incredibly strong team. Obviously, like, it's got a lot of water. That's just the way that it is. But at the end of the day, like, you do what you gotta do. It's still a very solid team, and offensively, it has the potential to rip through an entire roster with minimal pushback, which is the scariest part about this squad. It is really strong. And then it has mons like Tangrowth, Aromatisse for bulk, Uxie for bulk as well, Victini for just offensive pressure, and then Alolan Dugtrio because the team, if it didn't have Alolan Dugtrio, would get swept by probably any electric type ever. Literally just a Specs electric type just comes in, says, hi, I'm going to kill you, and then does it. Even Tangrowth can't hold out forever. So Alolan Dugtrio comes in and makes sure that those electric types do nothing. Which is really good for him. So, really interesting team. And I'm sure Nate will do well, because Nate always does well. And he's been on a little bit of a low streak lately, but I'm sure he will bounce back, because it's Nate, and he always does. Next up, we have Alex and his Greenwich Giratinas. And his team is the one I'm happy I don't have to face during the regular season this season. It consists of Latios, Cinderace, Blastoise, Jolteon, Tangela, Skuntank, Hitmonchan, Sylveon, Marowak, Alolan Persian, and Kartana. So look at the offensive pressure that you get from just having the combination of Kartana, Latios, Cinderace, and the Jolteon. That is disgusting. And then he has such great supportive mons with things like Blastoise, Tangela, Skuntank, Hitmonchan, Sylveon, and even Marowak and Alolan Persian to an extent. They all have their roles that they can fill and then do them incredibly well. All of these mons are ridiculously solid. And I have literally no issues with any aspect of this draft. This draft is just good. It's just a really solid draft. I like it a lot. A lot. This is a fun draft, and it is very threatening. So look for Alex to go really far this season, I'm sure. With a team like that, I wouldn't be shocked. Next up, we have another member of New Frontier who took over a team for us this season. And his name is Jesse, and he is the coach of the J-Dog Jolteons. We have who has the Dragonite, Umbreon, Porygon Z, Haxorus, Rotom Frost, Virizion, Pinsir, Hatterene, Entei, Suicune, and Barbaracle. While I would say there's a couple mons on this team that I personally would remove, in my opinion, at the end of the day, every mon on this team is solid, and all of them can do very scary things. You know, Barbaracle, like, obviously, I'm not a huge fan of Barbaracle, but it can Shell Smash against certain teams and just win. It just wins, which is pretty cool. Also very scary. Pinsir is actually fairly bulky and also gives access to rocks, and it's just a really fun mon. Plus, Moxie sweeping can also happen at any point in time, so you never know. The matchup is right. Pinsir can really be a threat here. But he also has the dual dragons, which is pretty cool. Even though fairies obviously exist nowadays, not every team has a fairy, and not every team will bring their fairy. And even if they do bring their fairy, when you have things like Porygon Z that can just nuke whatever it wants, and just hard-hitting and mons like Entei that resist the fairy moves that can whittle them down, it's not something you have to worry about too much. Especially since both Dragonite and Haxorus can get Steel/Poison coverage to deal with those fairies as well. So, very, very interesting team, very solid team. I really like it a lot. And I hope that he does incredibly well this season, because I'm excited to see what he can do. I hope that he is able to stick around with us for this season, and it'll be fun. He seems like a really nice guy, too, so I'm really happy to have him around. Yeah, good stuff. Next up, we have Anthony and the Windy City Bold Strikers, and his team consists of Galarian Darmanitan, Rotom Wash, Nidoking, Appletun, Galarian Rapidash, Pangoro, Gothitelle, Heatran, Diggersby, Scyther, and Raichu. So this is a very interesting team. There's a lot of aspects of it that I really like. Obviously, the Appletun, because, you know, I like Appletuns. His Firewater Grass Core is Rotom Wash, Appletun, Heatran, Gross. His Fairy Dragon Steel Core is Appletun, Heatran, and Galarian Rapidash, which is still gross. The Rapidash is still a very solid mon. It's just a constant offensive pressure. Things like Galarian Darmanitan, Nidoking, even Appletun to an extent with Apple Acid lowering your Spadef, Heatran with Magma Storm potential, Diggersby with huge power, all that kind of stuff. Like, that's just constant pressure that he's going to be putting on the team at all times, and it's really, really, really strong. It's really, really hard to build around. It's really, really good draft. It's a really solid team. I really love this draft a lot. It's scary in all the right ways, and I love that. I always expect Anthony to do well and go far, and I wouldn't expect anything else this season. The next team we have is the Pyro Striking Cinderaces, coached by Shani, with his Zeraora, Grimmsnarl, Chandelure, Lycanroc Dust, Quagsire, Vileplume, Unpheasant, Celesteela, Kommo-o, Mr. Rhyme, and Glaceon. So, very interesting team. I'm kind of a fan of it. Obviously, Zeraora is very versatile mon. Grimmsnarl is cool. You know I love Grimmsnarl. Just a lot of really solid offensive mons, but also some really good bulk with things like Quagsire, Vileplume, Celesteela that can just kind of tank hits. A lot of really bulky offensive mons on this team, which is really, really scary. And then there's that Kommo-o, and you'll find out later why I'm putting a hit out on this Kommo-o. This Kommo-o must die. His Kommo-o must die. There's no debate on this. His Kommo-o must die. Period. No debate here. It just must die. Thank you. That is all. That is all I need. I just kill the Kommo-o. If you see a Kommo-o, kill it. Murder it. Destroy it with every fiber of your being. Please do. Thank you. Sean has been doing excellent this season. He's been doing fantastically, and I expect him to continue doing so because he's just an incredibly good coach. Very, very solid team builder, very, very solid player. He's going to go far in this league, absolutely, without a doubt in my mind. Expect to see him with a championship tag next to his name in the near future. I would be very shocked if he didn't. Next up, we have another new coach recently taking over the team from D-League. We have good old Yasmin here in her cheeky Landos. I love that name. That's such a funny name. Such a lovely name. Very, very... it's about as UK of a name as you could possibly have, and I appreciate that so much. I only know that because I follow a lot of UK-based YouTubers, Patters and Game Boy Luke, so I understand the name reference. I get it. And hopefully I can visit the UK someday so that I can fully understand the reference, and I can say the appropriate words for it, because I would like to travel and go to the UK and see what the fuss is all about. That's what I'm saying. But her team consists of the Tapu Fini, Amoonguss, Espeon, Gigalith, Noivern, Drifblim, Double, Excadrill, Incineroar, Crustle, and Electivire. And oh my god, I hadn't really looked too deeply at this team before, and now that I'm looking at it here, my god, this team is gross. This team is so good. A Firewater Grass Core of Fini, Amoonguss, Incineroar, incredibly strong with the Intimidate parting shot options, defogging with Fini, Spore, shenanigans with regen for Amoonguss, just ridiculously strong. And then you have Fairy Dragon Steel with Excadrill, Noivern, and Fini. That's just, nastiness. Absolute nastiness. Disgusting behavior. I know Yaz took over this team. Whoever drafted it initially, disgusting behavior. Appalling behavior. Period. No debate. This is just appalling behavior. How dare you do something like this? This is just wrong. How dare you? This team is incredibly solid. It has the right combination of offensive pressure with incredible bulks, incredible pivoting options for the squad. It's just good. It's just really good. Especially, we're just ignoring, the Sand Core, the Gigalith Excadrill Sand Core here. Come on. That on top of... the ridiculously strong Firewater Grass Core. Come on, how much more do you need? This is a really good team, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Yaz utilizes it. It's definitely going to be very fun to see. Just really good stuff. Really, really good stuff here. And then our last team to go over is my buddy from the D-League, former two-time D-League champion. Because he's just that awesome. I'm pretty sure it was 2 times. Or at least he was doing runner-up once. Whatever. I don't remember the full details. It's been a little while. But we have our boy Deshawn and his Bridgeport Sandacondas with the Tapu Koko, Blissey, Arcanine, Silvally, Excelgor, Galarian Corsola, Dugtrio, Halucha, Kyurem, Xatu, and Leafeon. A lot of really interesting Mons in this draft. Don't get me wrong. A lot of them are very interesting. Obviously, you see the Dugtrio with no Arena Trap. You see the Leafeon with no Sun support. A lot of things that you might think are whoa, man, what are you doing? This is a little strange. But, the way he utilizes his team and some of his Mons on his team is just really, really good. He doesn't have a Water type, which I thought was very interesting, but, it doesn't seem to have hindered him this season. No surprise there, because Deshawn is one of those coaches that I've always known was good. I've always known was an incredibly solid player. And I'm just waiting for the chance for him to actually be able to shine. Because he's been stuck up here with a bunch of gimmick seasons. Kind of just scraping by and making his way through. And now it's just a straight up Galar Deck season. he is flourishing, and he is doing incredible, and it is so good to see. I'm happy about it. The people are finally seeing the potential that Deshaun has. Alex is also very happy about that because him and Alex are very good friends. So, yeah, very good stuff. Love Deshaun. He's a fantastic guy. And his team is really, really fun. A lot of great aspects to it. Obviously, he's got the Coco Lucha. He's got Kyurem, which is so insanely good this generation. Savali, the team Band-Aid Mon that is just like, oh, there's a hole in my team. Let me just cover that up with Savali real quick. Because it can just do that. And just great support from things like Arcanine, Galarian Corsola, Zatu. It's just a good team. It's a really good team. I'm really happy that he has such a good team and he's been doing so well this season. It's just good stuff for Deshaun. Good stuff. Really love that for him and the league as a whole, because that just means we get more Deshaun in the future. The better he does, the more seasons he's here, and more seasons he's here, the more chances we have to give Deshaun that championship, which I hope we can do someday. I hope that he gets there. Definitely something I'll be looking forward to. But with that is our current coaching roster. Bunch of really, really strong players, really, really good people. All fun to be around, all fun to play with. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look. Now that we've seen their rosters, let's see what Mons have stood out this season. And let's take a look at the kill leaderboard. Ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at your screens correctly. The kill leaderboard is indeed back, and it is a very mixed bag, coaches. Very mixed bag of Mons. Some Mons you can expect to see up here. Some Mons you might not have expected. Before we dive into the list itself, I do have several honorable mentions here. And by several, I mean like there's a bunch. So obviously you guys know how I do these kill leaders. It's based on the kills themselves. It is who's getting the most kills. And then from there to determine ties in the kills, we go off of the differential. What Mons have the better differential, and those go ahead of the other Mons in that kill bracket. That's the way that I've always kind of done it, and it's the way that we're doing it now still. So, bottom of the list, we have a Mon with 6 kills, and there are several Mons just off the list because of differential, or they're tied with this Mon and are off the list due to ABC order. So we're going to go over those real quick. So, other Mons that are sitting with 6 kills. There is the Slowking from the Adelaide Chanseys with 6 kills and 1 death. There is the Blastoise from the Greenwich Giratinas with 6 kills, 3 deaths. The Auckland Ambipoms have both their Girder with 6 kills and 1 death, and their Scizor down here with 6 kills and 3 deaths. The Bridgeport Sandacondas have Hawlucha with 6 kills and 4 deaths. The Jolteons have Porygon Z with 6 kills, 3 deaths. And the Magikarps have the Flygon with 6 kills and 3 deaths as well. So a lot of Mons just barely off the list, but all have the potential to climb themselves back onto it very, very easily. And I would be very shocked if they didn't. But moving on to the list itself, the 10th place slot goes to, thanks to alphabetical order, the Adelaide Chanseys and their Goodra, based pretty much almost solely on 1 week, where Goodra got 6 kills recently. I believe that was the former coach that pulled that off. And it was a very interesting Acid Armor body press set, and it landed Goodra 6 kills and brought it all the way up here, which is fantastic. There's an incredibly strong Pokemon. It's really cool to see a Mon that typically uses like a bulkier tank kind of Mon to be sitting up here doing so well this season. So hopefully we'll be able to see Jason, now that he's taken over the team, take this thing to even greater heights. Next up, in 9th place, we have the Galarian Slowking from the Memphis Brave Birds, sitting at 7 kills and 3 deaths, being a +4 differential. There's another Mon that typically you would see used in a more bulky fashion, But I guess with things like Future Sight and just having that good offensive typing of Psychic Poison, being able to fire off Sludge Bombs and stuff as well, has really helped this Slowking just kind of chip away at teams and snag those ever important kills here and there each and every week. That's really impressive stuff. I'm really looking forward to seeing if James is going to be able to keep his Mons, plural, up here on this ranking. Next up, we have the Nihilego from the Venice Beach Victinis with 7 kills and 2 deaths for a +5 differential. Nihilego was always scary because obviously it's an Ultra Beast, so like it's always going to be scary because of Beast Boost, right? But no one told Game Freak that apparently, and they gave it fucking Meteor Beam now. So you can just run a Power Meteor Beam on Nihilego, get a free +1 special attack, and then nuke something with your already high special attack stat and the boost with a Stab Rock type move. Like, what? Who decided that was acceptable? They're like, oh, we can limit this by making it a 2-turn move. That's hilarious. You know what other Mon had a Mon that the move that was 2 turns, and people, it sort of felt limited. No, it doesn't matter. Xerneas got Power Herb Geomancy, and that thing ran an entire meta. And now you're giving an Ultra Beast that's already a scary threat a move that boosted special attack and fires off a base, like, 120, 130 stab attack? That's ridiculous. That's obscene, and Game Freak should be ashamed of themselves for creating this abomination. Absolute abomination. I'm sure we will see Gavino use Nihilego plenty more times throughout the season. I'd be very shocked if we didn't. Because it's incredibly solid. It's a really strong Pokemon, and I'm sure it will be able to sweep plenty of teams going forward. Next up, we have the Baltimore Honchkrows with their Victini, only on this list because it's been nabbing the kills that you always expect a Victini to get. It is sitting at 8 kills and 6 deaths for a +2 differential. It is literally, it's hanging onto this list by kills alone. And that's all you need sometimes. Really, it's a solid Pokemon. Obviously, it's died a lot because it's, it has a lot of active presence on the team. Hopefully, when Nate gets his bounce back going, he will be able to protect this thing. Keep it from getting any more deaths, but continue to nab more kills for it. And we can see this Victini really shoot up the kill leaderboard because it's a Mon that can easily do it at any point in time, which is awesome. Love Victini. Great Mon. Keep up the good work, Nate. Next up, we have the Grunge Giratinas and their Kartana, sitting at 8 kills, 3 deaths, +5 differential. Again, it's an Ultra Beast. They didn't even give it anything broken this generation. They just said, here's Kartana back, and Alex was like, alright, I'm going to put it on the kill leaderboard. Cool. Rennie did it last season. It was sitting up here for a good while last season. So I wouldn't be surprised to continue seeing it sit there for a while because Kartana is scary. It requires so much prep just by itself. Makes things really difficult to deal with, for sure. It is an incredibly strong Pokemon, and I love it. Love Kartana, so very excited to see what Alex will be able to do with it. Maybe he'll be able to get it into the top spot. We'll find out. Then we cracked the top 5, and I messed up. I'm sorry. I was doing this at a very early point in the morning and brushed. So, but we have the Los Angeles Darkrai with their Spectrier sitting in 5th place with 8 kills, 1 death, +7 differential. This Mon recently got banned in Nat Dex and regular OU because apparently people just don't like bringing dark types to. I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm kidding. Literally, it needs such a little team support to nobody is like the little team support that it needs to be able to just sweep, because they were like, hey, we're gonna give a ghost type, which is already incredibly strong this generation because of the removal of Pursuit, with really high special attack and really good speed, a special attack version of Moxie. That can't go badly. What? Who decided that? That's a terrible idea. That's a horrible idea. It's working because it's broken, but it's a horrible idea. What the fuck? That's nuts. But apparently it's been doing really well for him, because every time he brings it, it just gets kills. It just gets kills, and that's just what Spectre does, and that's really cool. It's an incredibly solid Pokemon, and I fully expect to see him get more kills with it in the future. Could very well top this kill leaderboard by the end of the season. I would be not surprised at that at all, honestly. Next up, and the reason why the hit is being put out in the Komodo for the Pyro Striking Cinderaces, this thing has gotten 9 kills and 0 deaths. You know we can't tolerate that here. We do not tolerate Mons that have not died here. We do not tolerate. Do not tolerate. If you're a Mon and you have come to games and you have claimed kills and you are still alive, you are not getting killed at all, that is unacceptable. Unacceptable behavior. So this thing needs to die. It needs to die. I don't care how you do it, but kill it. Period. Please kill it. Yes. Just die. Just die. Just die. Well, this thing is just proof that Shawnee is an amazing coach. He's really really fantastic as a player, and he has utilized this Mon incredibly well throughout the course of the whole season. Just really good stuff. Really good stuff. Love that. Now, we crack into the top 3, but realistically, it's a top 2, kind of, with a tie. Because we have a tie for second place, only decided essentially by alphabetical order at this point, which I don't particularly count too much as a tiebreaker. It's just how we order things on the list to make it look pretty. But we have the Memphis Brave Birds with their Rillaboom, and the Bridgeport Sandacondas with their Silvally, both sitting at 12 kills and 2 deaths. Spoilers, Silvally got more kills this week as well, by the way. Just want to put that out there. Both Mons are incredibly strong, obviously. Silvally benefiting heavily from the massive buff that it got to multi-attack this generation. Buffing that thing all the way from, I believe it was base 90 to base 120 now, which is ridiculous. So good. Really, really good stuff. Love that a lot for it. Makes it... Not only has it always been an incredibly good Gloomon for a team, because you can bring it as whatever type you need, and that's all fantastic. But you can also, and it works as a good hazard remover. But now you have a base 120 stab attack, whatever, at any time to just nuke something with. Like, that's incredible. That is incredibly good. Silvally is a great Mon, and I'm really, really, really excited to see how much further Deshawn can push this thing's abilities. This thing is absolutely ridiculous. Such a good Mon. Look, I love that Deshawn have a Mon up here. And then, yeah, that Rillaboom. Rillaboom is just nuts. Like, they gave them on grassy terrain, and I was like, alright, that's kind of nasty. It's kind of ridiculous. It's already strong. them wood hammers be hitting, though. And then they gave it a move that's priority in grassy terrain? Why? Were you trying to break the game? What are you doing? That's nasty. Rillaboom is a beast. An absolute monster. It is literally just tearing through people. If you live the wood hammer, if you live like a boosted wood hammer from Rillaboom on the switch in, you might be in range of a Grassy Glide. Just be wary, you might be in range of a Grassy Glide. That could very well be the case. Be aware. It's scary. It's a hard thing to switch into. And even if you do get the right switch in, he could just be U-turning. And he'll come back later and finish the job. Like, it's a solid Pokemon. So I'm not surprised to see that thing up here this high. Both Mons are incredibly good. But they were not good enough to crack the #1 spot. And that is held currently by Zygarde 50% from the Atlanta Dragonites. 14 kills, 4 deaths for a +10 differential. It's Zygarde. Realistically, in the best and worst situations, you should always see Zygarde on the top 10 kill leaders when it has access to 1,000 arrows. You should always see it up here. Always. That's without a debate. It is the most spammable move in Pokemon. It hits flying types. It hits levitating mons. It just hits everything. It hits anything. It's free damage anytime you click it. You're getting damage on something, which is crazy. And then you factor in the fact that, it's a dragon type, which, is dragon hits a lot of mons really hard too. And the only thing you got to worry about is mons that heavily resist ground type moves, which, with good enough support, which he has, you can get those things whittled down to the point where that doesn't matter, and you can still just spam 1,000 arrows and win the game. That's just what Zygarde does sometimes, and it's fucking nasty. I hate it. I hate it, 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 I hate it. Zygarde is such an annoying mon to prep for. It's such an annoying mon to battle. It is just annoying. Please let this thing die forever and always. Thank you. But honestly, from the bottom of my heart, congratulations, Dave, for making top 10 kill leaders and actually just topping the top 10 kill leaders. That's fantastic for you. And these are our kill leaders for the season as it stands right now. Really interesting selection of mons. It'll be interesting to see week after week how these things shape up going forward. With that, we're going to move on now to the standings as they currently are. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, here we have our standings. We can take a look at each division one by one and see how things are shaping up. So we have the Kanto Division up top. We have the Auckland Ambipoms currently leading the division with a 3-3 record. They have beaten everyone in their division with a 3-0 divisional record, and they are at a +8 differential. But they are currently on a 2-loss losing streak. So that is substantial to look at because, the Ambipoms came out starting hot, but once they got out of the divisional stuff, they have been floundering a little bit in some spots. So it'll be interesting to see if they can bounce back and if the other teams will be able to, bounce back as well and really pick things up going forward. Then we have the Windy City Bolt Strikers with a 2-4 record. They are 2-1 within their division, and they have a -8 differential. But they are also on a losing streak, around a 3-game losing streak as well. So a lot of teams hit losing streaks once we got out of the divisional rounds, and it's very interesting to see that because it's kind of wild out there right now. It's really crazy stuff. So this division still remains entirely up in the air as things are standing. Then we have the J-Dog Jolteons, coached by Jesse, and he went 2-4. He has a 1-2 divisional record. Spoilers, my team was the only one that lost to his. Shocker. He's at -7 differential, so he's just slightly ranked. He would just be slightly ranked ahead of the Bolt Strikers. And he's on a current losing streak of 1. And then we have myself, the Anaheim Appletons, 2-4. We lost all of our divisional games at the beginning of the season, and we have a -10 differential. But we are on a 2-game winning streak, which hopefully we can continue and take over the division the way that things normally are. Because, frankly, I don't like being at the bottom. It's scary. It's scary down here, man. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Next up, we move on to the Johto Division, which is currently being led by the Bridgeport Sandacondas, who are 4-2 with a 1-2 divisional record. But they're on a 3-game winning streak. They have beaten everyone outside of their division so far. They're at a +9 differential, which is really, really, really solid. They are followed closely behind by Rennie and the Los Angeles Darkrais, who's also 4-2, with a 2-1 divisional record, with a +7 differential. But he's on a current. He lost his most recent game, which is pretty cool, I guess. But then we have James and the Myrtle Magikarps sitting at 3-3 with a 3-0 divisional record, -4 differential. He's on a 3-game losing streak, so he beat everyone in his division, but as soon as he got out of it, he has absolutely been slapped up and clapped up, which is always interesting to see. Maybe he'll be able to do the same in his division again once the end of the season comes around. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out for him. Hopefully he'll be able to bounce back. He's got a really solid team, so I wouldn't be surprised if he does. And then we have our boy Nate. Unfortunately, Nate is sitting at a 1-5 record. He went 0-3 in his division and sits at a -13 differential. He is on a 2-game losing streak right now. Hopefully Nate will be able to bounce back. He's a really solid coach, and he's always bounced back before, so I would never count him out. I always expect him to bounce back at some point. Hopefully it happens sooner rather than later, and he can get on a winning streak instead. Fingers crossed for that. Best of luck, Nate. You got this, buddy. Then we have the Alola Division, with the Pyro Striking Cinderaces obviously leading, who are 6-0. They have been undefeated so far. The hit goes on Shawnee too. We don't like undefeated teams here. Please beat him. Please beat him. All I'm asking is for you to beat him. Obviously, he went 3-0 in his division. He's +19 differential. And, of course, he's on a 6-game winning streak. Ridiculous stuff. Absolutely ridiculous. Stop this man. Please, I'm begging you, stop this man. So winning that division, obviously, unless he starts going on a crazy losing streak, winning that division is going to be very, very hard. We have but 2 teams, not too far behind. We have the Greenwich Girautinas and Adelaide Chanseys, both sitting at 3-3. They have 1-2 divisional records, with the Girautinas sitting at a +5 differential with a 2-game winning streak, and the Adelaide Chanseys sitting at a -4 differential with a 1-game winning streak. So both teams still have a chance to pull it back if Shawnee goes on a losing streak. So entirely a possibility for them. And then we have the Cheeky Landos sitting at 1-5 with a 1-2 divisional record, -11 differential on a 3-game losing streak. But Yaz did just take over the team, and I'm sure that once she gets going, I'm sure she'll be able to start picking up some wins going forward, and it'll be fantastic to see that. So best of luck, Yaz. I hope you do start picking up some wins here soon. I look forward to it a lot. And then last but not least, we have the Galar Division, currently being led by the Memphis Bravebirds, who were 1-2 in their division, but they have a +8 differential with their 4-2 record on a 2-game winning streak, followed closely behind by the Hyper Beam Dragonites with a 4-2 record, 2-1 in their division, and a +5 differential with a 1-game winning streak. And then followed even closer behind by the Venice Beach Victinis, who are how are they 3-1 in their division? That doesn't even make sense. Hold on, I need to fix that right now. That doesn't make any sense. You can't be 3-1 in your division because you have only had 3 divisional games, man. You've only had 3 divisional games. Somebody goofed. Somebody done goofed. Let's find out what he's doing in his division. In the Victinis, that's 1 win. Victinis, that's a loss in their division. That's a win in their division. Okay. So they are 2-1 in their division. Let's fix that real quick, like. +2 differential, but they are on a 1-game losing streak. So this division is entirely up in the air. This is 100% up in the air. Not any of these guys can take the top spot in the division at this point in time. And then we have the Misery Magirnas sitting at 2-4 with a 1-2 divisional record and -10 differential with a 1-game winning streak. Granted, this team literally just got taken over during week 6. Like the former coach was removed during week 6. So he's completely brand new, and he will be taking over the team going forward week 7 and on. So let's hope to see that Ben will be able to claw back from the hole left by the former coach. But this is the way the standings are looking right now. Very different than what things are typically at. A lot of guys that are typically at the top sitting at the bottom. A lot of guys that are typically at the bottom sitting near the top. It's really, really cool stuff, and I'm really excited to see how these trends continue as the season goes on. But with that, let's go ahead and take a look at our Week 7 matchups and get you guys hyped for our recaps to come. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here once again with our next week's matchups for week number 7 of the NPBF. First off, we have the Cheeky Landos, coached by Yaz, taking on the Auckland Navy Palms, coached by Liam. Both solid coaches, both former D-leaguers. Liam, the former champion. Yaz, a most recent call-up for replacement purposes. Both teams are incredibly good. One more defensive than the other, so it's going to be interesting to see if the defensive aspects of Yasmin's team will be able to topple the heavily offensive variant of Liam's team. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that one plays out. It's definitely going to be a fantastic matchup for sure. I'm really looking forward to this one a lot. Definitely one that I'm going to have my eyes on closely. Then we have the Greenwich Giratinas taking on the Windy City Bolt Strikers. Anthony versus Alex. Again, another case of two incredibly solid teams, both hardcore offenses with great defensive options for each other. So this is going to be a crazy slugfest. This is going to be an incredibly solid match, to say the very least. I'm really looking forward to this one. Then we have the ever persistent rivalry of Dave and his Hyper Beam Dragonites versus myself and the Anaheim Appletons. Now, I have never lost to Dave in a singles draft without incredible hacks being taken into play. So, with that being said, he is on a crazy streak this season, and I have been on a bit of a downturn this season. So, however, I am on a winning streak. So, we'll see, will my winning streak be able to help lead me to victory against Dave once again? Or will Dave's crazy streak this season continue and he'll beat me somehow? We'll find out. This is going to be an interesting game to keep an eye on for everyone. I'm scared about it because I don't want to lose to Dave, because I will never hear the end of it. Ever. Ever, ever. Period. Then we have the Los Angeles Darkrais taking on the J-Dog Jolteons. Rennie versus Jesse. This is going to be very interesting to see how Jesse fares against the former champion. Rennie has had a few low moments this season. He's still doing really well, but he's definitely had a few hiccups this season, so hopefully this is not another one of those hiccups, and Jesse will be able to pick up a nice upset victory. I only call it an upset because Rennie is a 4-time champion. It's no dig against Jesse. Just want to make sure that that's abundantly clear. Then we have the Venice Beach Victinis taking on the Myrtle Magikarps, the Rain Core, versus Reggie Ellicky. Reggie Ellicky is scary. Reggie Ellicky go burr. Please be gentle with him. Kavino, please be gentle. obviously, like, James has things to deal with electric types, but even still, it's a scary one to face off against when you have a rain team. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Gav does against the Magikarps this week. It's going to be interesting. Then we have the Misery McGearness taking on the Bridgeport Sandacondas. That is new coach Ben taking on Deshaun in his official main league debut. So Deshaun has been on a roll this season. So we'll see if Ben will be able to translate the skills he had down in D-League, because I believe he was undefeated down in D-League. I believe he mentioned that before we called him up. So it'll be interesting to see how Ben translate those skills into the main league and see if he'll be able to continue his winning streak up here, or if Deshaun will be able to continue his dominant performances here as well. Then we have the Pyro Striking Cinderaces versus the Baltimore Honchkrows, the undefeated Shawnee versus the struggling Nate. Nate is one of those guys that is always able to make a comeback at any point in the season, so anything can happen when it comes to this matchup, but it's hard to root against the Cinderaces here. Like it's a tough call, because obviously I want Nate to do well and I want Nate to win, but that's an undefeated team right there. But what I do want is Nate for Nate to kill the Komodo. That's all you have to do. Even if you don't kill anything else on his team, kill the Komodo, please and thank you. That's all I ask. Thanks, appreciate it. And then our final matchup this week is going to be James and the Memphis Bravebirds taking on Jason and the Adelaide Chanseys. This is going to be a really good test for Jason, as James has been a stalwart of the league for a very long time. He's been one of the top guys around here for a while. And Jason, being new to the main league, is going to be interesting just to see how his skills match up against one of our top guys as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see some of these matchups that are going to be very, very solid, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It is time to get on out of here. Thank you guys for watching. Once again, it is good to be back making NPBF content. It is great to be here. I'm so excited about it. So thank you all for watching. Please subscribe to the NPBF channel, and also check out our stuff whenever it goes up on Pokemon New Frontier, the Facebook group. Really, really good stuff going on over there, always. It's a great place to be. I love it there, personally. It's a fun group. So, but yeah, this is a good times. Be had all around. Next week, we will be back on our regular recap grind, watching all the matches, having a blast. It's going to be great. I can't wait. So stay tuned. Keep an eye out for it. But with that being said, my name is Jeff. I also go by Proget Primer, and we're going to be signing off. Peace.